Welcome to the ER Break Room, the University of Florida Department of Emergency Medicine's podcast. In here, we get to know each other, celebrate our achievements, and highlight our initiatives. I'm your host, Michael Petrauskas. I am repeatedly floored by the accomplishments of individuals in our department. Let's go over just some of the highs of the month. There were 2 clinical awards given to members of our department. One was the Clinical Excellence Award given to an associate professor, and that was given to Dr. Rohit Patel, who works in all 4 emergency departments, multiple ICUs, and for the ethics consultation service. Rohit is a true clinical juggernaut. And then the Rising Star Award was given to an assistant professor in our department, and Dr. Kendall Moore received this. Kendall is truly a team player, and he goes above and beyond every single day. I see him answering phones and wiping down beds all the time. Next, we have some educational awards, and 2 gentlemen received the Unsung Hero Award for outstanding clinical teaching. These 2 guys are humble and highly respected by residents and students, and they are Dr. Mike Marchick, the Assistant Program Director, and Dr. Terrence Creighton, our EM Critical Care Medicine Fellow. Next up, we have Dr. Rose Fernandez, who has been elected as a member of the Alpha Omega Alpha Honor Medical Society, which is a national recognition and a huge honor. So congratulations to Dr. Fernandez. I am not surprised that you won this award. Next, we have Dr. Carolyn Holland, and she's been selected as Vice Chair of Quality and Safety after meeting rigorous requirements established by the College of Medicine. Congrats to Dr. Holland on this accomplishment. We had a changing of the guard in the adult academic emergency department with Dr. Brandon Allen shifting his focus over to the new observation unit and Dr. Liam Holtzman taking over as the adult academic emergency department director. I know both of them are going to do wonderful things in their new roles. And thank you, Dr. Allen, for all of your hard work over the last 7 years in the adult emergency department. And finally, we have Zach, now we can say Mayo Frey, who first off was named the second quarter 2023 GME Program Support Superstar, and he got married. So congratulations, Zach. Very excited for you. So I want to bring on today Dr. Lars Beattie, our esteemed program director of the Emergency Medicine Residency here at the University of Florida. Lars, welcome.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Mike. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, how's it? Yeah, absolutely. Had to have you on after the events of the past week. March Madness has always been referred to as as in terms of like NCAA men's and women's basketball, but I feel like the match this year in emergency medicine was March Madness.
It was a little crazy. I mean,
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's very different than any other match season. I think it's basically the sort of nexus of a lot of different factors. There's the expansion in UF-EM programs. So I think everybody's aware of the narrative that there are a lot of new sort of programs coming in with, through HCA and other sort of for-profit entities. And there's a huge number of programs that are created, but that's only half the story. A lot of programs expanded too. So, they expanded the number of positions they had over the last decade or so. So it's a really sort of interesting thing. And everything was happy and fun and fine and wonderful until this jobs report came out a couple of years ago, where they were sort of talking about an excess of EM practitioners and the market being saturated, which I think permeated the conversations and really hit the narrative right down through the med schools and affected the interests and opportunities that people perceived in EM. So it's interesting. Wow. So a lot of different things came to play this year. I mean, just for the record, I think there was a subsequent article about the geography of that. And I think, if you're talking about, downtown Miami or Manhattan in New York City or something, it might be a little hard pressed to find a job there in the 2030s where this sort of was about to hit. But, there's subsequent articles that looked at sort of geography, and that really is interesting to look at because there still will be a demand for EM practitioners. It's just not in downtown Manhattan. It's in or rural Alabama or something,
Exactly. So then tell me, what were the news hit last week, what were the numbers in
Yeah,
terms of
so
unfilled spots and everything? Yeah.
crazy numbers
Yeah.
that I don't think EM has seen before. Typically, we run right through 2021. We ran at a match fill rate of 99.5% of programs filled in terms of their spots. Last year we saw a little
Wow.
decline of about 8%, and this year it was a full almost 20% of spots that went unfilled across the nation, and that
Wow.
translates to about
Wow.
555 spots went unfilled this year.
Wow. That's incredible. That's crazy. That's just really that's
It
shocking
really
to
is.
hear. Yes. But on the flip side, your program, University of Florida,
Yeah.
filled.
No, I mean, really,
Yeah.
that was really good news. I really welcome that. I thought that was fantastic. I think,
Congratulations. That's huge. That speaks to your efforts, to your team's efforts, to the collective efforts of the residency and the interviewers and stuff. I mean, that's
well,
incredible. That's
it's a team,
incredible.
and you're a part of that. You're one of
Yeah.
the viewers, and a lot of faculty took part in that, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
from the residents, the faculty, to core faculty, to PDs, did a tremendous job, and just
Yeah.
demonstrating our program, demonstrating the value here, and of course, going the extra mile this year. We interviewed a few more candidates. It
How many did we interview
was
this
a
year?
total of 316 candidates interviewed, and we had about
Wow.
292 on our match
Wow.
list. So,
Holy
uh,
cow. Wow. And you personally, I know you personally interviewed every single one of
everyone,
them,
yep,
correct?
yep.
Yes. That is, wow. That's incredible. That's a testament right there,
Yeah.
Lars. Well, thank you again for coming on, and we will talk
Appreciate it.
soon.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mike.
Lars.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dr. Beattie. Today's featured guest is none other than Matt Shannon, the medical director for the Spring Hill and Kanapa Emergency Centers and the director for community emergency medicine. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Well, hey, I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
Well, I had to get someone on to represent the freestanding emergency group, and who better than yourself, the kind of one of the founding members and our current director and our fearless leader in the freestandings, to come on
Well,
and talk.
I can get you a long list who'd be better than me.
That is not true at all. Well, tell me. All right, so start from the beginning here. Where are you from? Tell me about your hometown growing up.
Yeah. I was born and raised in a town called Chico, California.
Oh, really?
It's
You're
about
Californian.
yeah. I was 100 miles north of Sacramento, and I was kind of born and raised, and then left there at age 19, and then moved on with my life.
Wow. And anything from childhood, siblings, anything that influenced your career path or where you ended up?
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm the first one in my family to kind of go into medicine. All
Mm-hmm.
the rest were kind of smarter than I was, and they sort of went into business and did pretty well there. But no, this is something I kind of wanted to do when I was, I sort of had some vague notions, maybe a little in high school.
Yeah.
It wasn't really until later on in college that I sort of figured out that maybe I want to head in that direction.
I gotcha. Well, I did, sometimes I pick up things here and there, and you alluded to a story from your childhood that I thought was kind of funny and interesting. Yeah, I heard you got into a tussle with a piece of farm equipment. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I sure did. I was about 18 at the time, and
Uh-huh.
and what I was doing is, I got a summer job working for a friend of our family's who had an
Mm-hmm.
experimental rice research farm. Rice is a big crop out in California. People may not know
Okay.
that, but where I'm from, in Butte County. We
Uh-huh.
grow almonds, except we don't call them almonds. We call them almonds. I grew up calling them
Almonds.
almonds.
Almonds,
I,
yes.
I don't know why, but to me, I still call them almonds. But people look
Uh-huh.
at me like, what? So I just learned to adapt. But
Yeah.
in Butte County, where I grew up, everybody still calls them almonds.
Almonds.
And
Mm-hmm.
even on the radio or whatever, if you're just listening, if you're driving through, everybody, that's what they call them. It's a huge
Unreal.
cash crop. But
Uh-huh.
this was the other big cash crop out there is rice. And
Mm-hmm.
they grow lots and lots, usually for the Asian markets. And the guy I worked
Mm-hmm.
for, he had a PhD in botany.
Mm-hmm.
And what he was doing is developing experimental plots of rice, looking at certain characteristics they were looking for. And
Cool.
one of the plots that he developed, you still see it today, and that's called suramai.
Okay.
I think that's how you pronounce it. I can't quite spell it, but
Okay.
that's what it is, and that's kind of a short grain, rounder rice that's used as more of a sticky rice. Anyway, make a long story short, they had a brand new little machine, and that was designed for cutting these rice pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And they were small little plots that we were growing on. We were looking at different yields. We were looking at what fertilizers they took and what their germination periods were, and all the things that go with it. They can't have the great big huge monster combines, so they had to have the little guys. And so they had this brand new machine. And so, as luck would have it, we took it out. And the first day we went out and blew a big seal. We got all this hydraulic oil everywhere.
Oh, gosh.
And of course, it works on a friction pulley system. So all these pulleys going around. And so my boss comes up and says, crap. All right, we blew a seal. I got the seal fixed, but now we got oil everywhere. And see all these little pulleys? We're going to get oil off of them.
Oh,
it will work better if they're running, he says.
No.
Yeah,
famous last words.
Yeah,
exactly. My gosh.
So, I'm dumber than a sack of hammers, and so not a lot's changed on my dad. But so he gives me this rag and says, "Here, push here." So I did that, not realizing that the trailing edge of that rag, it had gotten caught into the pulley, and bam, just like that, my left arm got pulled in.
Oh my gosh!
And I ended up with one of the metacarpals got dislocated, but I had a both bone. You still see the scar. I had a both bone forearm fracture.
Oh my gosh!
So,
that's your intubating arm there. Your medical career was almost derailed before it started. Oh my gosh!
Just about, yeah. Well, I was lucky to have an arm when I was done because it really mangled it. But,
oh my gosh!
Yeah, and the guy felt terrible because he was a family friend, and he came over and says, he implied that we're going to sue him and everything else.
Oh my goodness!
And my dad says, "No, we're not going to sue you. That's not kind of what we do." So
that's good.
And that was fine. So I got it fixed, and it's a little stiff, a little bit.
Yeah.
The left wrist a little stiff.
Yeah. Did it require surgery? Surgery or no?
Wow.
Wow.
We did. We had to have internal fixation done. And a couple years later, they opened me back up and took the plates back out.
Wow.
But it's sort of
nuts.
said good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the other side, the kind of interesting point of that story was that you're doing these like experiments on different rice, and that's very scientific, and I don't know, did that pique some of your interest in science and whatnot, or no?
Strangely enough, no.
No.
But one thing I did like is that I was out alone late afternoon, kind of just doing my thing on the rice machines or off on a tractor. That to me was just kind of fun. See the mountains off in the distance, the coastal range, the weather was great. Wow. And you get these cool breezes coming in off the ocean. It was just magical.
Wow.
And so for an 18-year-old kid, you sort of feel like you got the world at your feet. You're just thinking you're doing good. Then my boss calls me over one day and says, "Hey, I need to show you something." So he walks over and he says, "You see these little boxes? Oh, man, yeah, I see what you did to one of them." Yeah, and he says, "They're made out of redwood. We import that redwood in. It's a little drainage box and it drains the fields." He says, "Anytime you hit these, they cost us $120, and this was years ago, to replace."
Wow.
And I stopped counting at 6. You took out every one in the field. So I was too busy being one with nature, right? And that big disc plow would come around, and that was kind of my thing. I'd whip that tractor around, and that disc plow would swing wide, and every time it would swing wide, I'd take out a big redwood box, and it was matchwood.
Oh no! Oh my gosh!
I could tell he was mad.
Oh my god! Yeah.
But the other supervisor came out and says, "Yeah, he was really mad." But I says, "Well, he didn't look like that mad to me." He says, "That's just because he knows you. If you weren't friends with the family, he would have fired you on the spot."
Oh my gosh! Wow. See, well, that is interesting. I like those are good stories, man. Those are good stories. I knew you'd have some. I knew you
dangerous guy on a tractor, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd stay away from your little plot of land with the weekend warrior on the mower.
Yeah.
So okay, so you left Chico and you went off to what? Undergrad, med school, residency?
I didn't. I went and served a 2-year church mission, and I did that in England, doing missionary service. Had a great experience, loved it. I learned to live and work in another culture, which was kind of unique and different. Yeah, and had just an awesome experience. Came back, and then I was able to get a scholarship at school, and went off and was able to do that. So I started undergrad a little bit older, and but a whole lot smarter
and wiser. Yes.
Well, I don't know about wiser, but maybe a little smarter. I knew enough not to swing wide on a tractor.
There you go. There you go. That's right.
That's right. No, but I really appreciated. I developed a love for people in other places, and that still carries with me today. And respecting that you got to look at your historical roots. Because
absolutely.
After a couple of hundred years, a lot of American history really is the cool thing about Americans. We all come from somewhere else. And so you start looking at that little aspect, and as you figured out with my last name, come from proud Irish English stock, and so which is kind of unique. But what I just recently found out is that if you go back as far as 6 generations, you start looking at people start intersecting.
Oh,
and
wow.
using this program that I have on my phone, I was able to go out and find out that I was actually related to a bunch of people, which I didn't realize that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for example, the Queen of England is my 12th cousin twice removed. The last, Queen Elizabeth.
They just died. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. What's cool is that I'm actually this is going to surprise everybody, but it's true. They actually showed me the relationship. I'm actually the 10th cousin once removed of Rosa Parks.
Really?
Now, how does that figure?
That is nuts.
Yeah, you would think. Wait a minute, how can that be? But no, it's true.
Crazy.
They actually showed it.
Wow.
Yeah, so once you start going back about 6 generations, you'll start seeing interblending of family trees.
That's incredible.
And that's regardless of the race you come from.
Right. That's crazy.
You just start seeing that, So I thought, this is awesome.
This is really neat. Yeah, that's pretty cool that we have the technology and to do that these days to trace back our roots and see where it came from.
It was cool. I just really found that out a couple of weeks ago, so I sent it to my kids and saying,
that's incredible.
You guys are now related very distantly to a famous civil rights icon. And you guys didn't know it all these years. So this is awesome.
Yep, absolutely. So, that's cool. That's cool. What app? What program or app is that? In case someone else wants to.
It was through Family Search. If somebody just grabs me, I'll show you how to do it. And there's a couple of things you can do to get on there and figure out who you're related to. And then once you hit that little button, it takes you back through multiple generations. But what's interesting is you really come through. Sorry, somebody's trying to get me.
No worries.
You really come through multiple people, and you start realizing that you're not as the scoundrel that you thought you were.
Right. Yeah, we're more.
You're related to some cool people.
That's
which was kind of fun. There was a bunch that I was related to, a couple of presidents and things like this. But it was kind of fun. Wow,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your heritage being Irish and English. And then this other. You told me the other story before about, or you mentioned in passing about a certain nun that made some assumptions about you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I went to I came out of the University of California system undergrad, right? So we ended up going to, and that's another story. But I ended up in residency and University of Illinois, and it was a Catholic hospital as part of the University of Illinois system, right? They knew I came out of Creighton. Creighton is there's a few people know it's a Jesuit school, and I really, really enjoyed the Jesuits. They are really cool people. I kind of like them because they're kind of Catholic rabble rousers.
Yeah, they are. I went to Marquette, which is also Jesuit.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I did.
Oh, there you go. You know what it's like,
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So go ahead. Yeah.
So here's what was cool is that my name's Matthew Brian Shannon, and they used to come up and think, well, they knew I came out of California, they knew I had a fairly large family. They just naturally assumed I was Catholic, right? Especially when they found out that, given my name, given where I'm from, given, I had 3 brothers and a sister, and so it was a decent sized family. Yeah. And then I went to Creighton, so they just naturally assumed I was this little Catholic boy, right? So Sister Mary Elizabeth used to come down and look for me, right? When I was a resident, she used to come find me. She'd bring me her weird little ailments. She was sweet as could be, but she'd come find me and want to talk to me a little bit about my experiences, and I just never had to tell her I wasn't a club. It was just, I'm going to play this one here a little bit. Oh my God! Because I tell you why. It's really bizarre. Yeah. My friends in medical school who went to Catholic went to Catholic high schools and stuff put in this morbid fear of nuns.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
says there's one group of people you never mess with. Is you don't mess with them.
It's the
Priests,
nuns.
you can sort of skate by. The
Yeah.
nuns will kill you
Yes.
and make it look like an accident. So I just said, yes, ma'am. She come after me, and
that's right.
she had this beautiful little accent, and it was fun. But I enjoyed it. Had a great
that's
experience
great.
there.
You did, yeah, and you kept the deception going the entire time that you
I
were a good
did.
Catholic boy.
Yeah. I just didn't have the heart to tell her, and I figured, this is okay. There's a lot of great Jesuits. I really respect them.
Yes.
And she's doing some. Then they were Order of Saint Francis, and although they were sweet and kind, I don't think they come after me with it. Something to beat me. But just like, okay, I'm not going to say anything that's going to mess with this lady. It's whatever she wants to believe about me is
absolutely. Good. I hear stories from both my parents went to Catholic schools, and they used to wrap your back of your hand with a ruler or a stick and stuff back in those days. So I see what you're talking about.
So you had a little mild PTSD, thinking, I don't want to cross this lady. Okay, yeah. She never really bought it up, and she never really asked me, but I knew she kind of just assumed it because she would come find me for little stuff. So
exactly.
It sort of worked, and we had fun.
You did it. So. You did it, absolutely. Yeah. So that was residency in emergency medicine, correct? And back. So what years? How? What? 80s, 90s? What are we talking here? 2000s. When?
Well, there's another little story that some people know about me.
Yeah.
I actually started in dental school. I don't know if everybody knows that.
Oh no! Tell the story. You mentioned this in passing before. Tell me this.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird story because I guess you can't do that anymore. But I was going to be an oral surgeon at one point in my life. Right? There was just something about it I thought was cool, and I knew it was an emerging area, and that there was a lot of programs that were generally morphing towards. Originally it was just DDSs or DMDs that did it. They would do a separate residency, and then they started to expand the programs to DDSMD.
Yeah.
And what would happen is you do a year as a grunt, as a house officer, where you'd be everybody's scut monkey, right? So you'd be doing all this stuff that you would normally. And then you would break for 2 years, and you'd do the second and third year of medical school. You would graduate with that year's medical school class.
Yeah.
And then you would go back, and then you'd have another 4 years of residency. So it was a long haul. But by the same token, you're getting dual degrees. And there was only 6 programs at that time that offered that. And I knew from other discussions, research I had done, that was going to end up, that was the direction I wanted to go. And the future of their profession was that pathway.
Right.
And so, so I looked around and I realized the University of California didn't really have that as much. And so when I looked around and figured out kind of where I wanted to go, dental school was where. So I wanted to go to Creighton.
Yep.
And Creighton has a huge number of people coming out of the University of California system. We used to call it University of California at Omaha. at least half my class was all from California. Right?
Wow.
And so the reason why I chose that is because in Omaha, they had University of Nebraska. And the Cornhuskers, that's what they are, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Those guys had they were one of the first programs to adopt that. And so I was learning at that tender age that, I can get over there, I can get my DDS, and then it allows me to jump across the street and go brown nose these guys.
Yeah.
And so I tell you, that was my strategy. And so so I got in, and I was doing my thing, and I got really frustrated with dental anatomy.
And
it's nuts. They have the whole notion. They have the whole notion of Catholic suffering in this life down in dental school, right? I can say that now because I've done a lot of Catholic school, right? If you count medical school, right?
Yes, you have.
And so what they did is that, they keep you going, and we see the guys in the first year of medical school, they get out 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They keep us up to 5:30, and we felt like we were terribly abused. Reality is we probably weren't, but we thought we were.
Yeah.
And so we were dying, right? So anyway, so I was frustrated with it. It was the lowest grade I got. I got a B in that course, but I earned it. And what they would do is they would start off with these little plaster blocks, right? And you would have to then carve a tooth that they assigned you. They'd come up and they'd say, Shannon, you're going to do a number 28 female tooth. There are differences between male and female teeth.
Oh my gosh.
And what they would do is they would take a micrometer, and they would start grading you off if you were a 10th of a millimeter less. Now, why? Because that's the ledge that plaque starts to form. So it was all designed to
Come on.
get you to manipulate your hands in small little tight places.
Oh my
And so,
gosh.
yeah, so I was just frustrated with that.
Yeah.
And then some of the guys, so I turned in this, what I thought was this work of art, and I'm looking at my classmates, and some of these guys went and got the senior classmen's dental drills and to buff these things to a high sheen.
Oh,
And they look
wow.
gorgeous. And here I am with
Wow.
this rather, I thought, artistic, but,
Yeah.
painfully not anything like what they had.
Wow.
And, my grades reflected that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I ended up with a B in that class, and that was the lowest grade I got. The difference between, we knew that I had to be in the top 10% in order to go to oral surgery, right? And so the difference between, it was just cutthroat competition. Between me and the number one guy was 0.6 of a point.
Oh gosh. Wow.
And I finished that year being ranked sixth in my class. Anyway, to make a long story short, I don't want to bore people with this.
But you did it though. You got sixth in the class.
We did. Yeah. And I mentioned that because my motivation was all jacked up. I was motivated by fear. And that is, I'm too afraid to fail. I've got to do this. And I've got to be in the top 10%, or I'm not going to be competitive. And it just had, and then it was just cutthroat competition.
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, I was frustrated. One of my dental anatomy professors said, once you apply to medical school, you're going to do it anyway, right? And so I sort of went over, and it was like April. Yeah, it was about this time.
Yeah.
And, sort of the end of their acceptance here. And so I talked to the guy, and he pulled up my records and looked, and the admissions dean, he says, well, it looks like you've done pretty well. So why don't you apply for a first year spot? And you're kind of late, but let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So I applied for a spot. A week later, I get this computer generated rejection. And being as I was rather full of myself at the time, I went over there and I said, hey, wait a minute. You told me to go ahead and do this, and then I did this computer-generated thing.
Yes.
And he kind of looks at me and says, yeah, it looks like you did. And I said, okay, so what did you, because he was really encouraging, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, make a long story short, he says, well, I want you to apply for a spot for the second year, but what we need to do is have you go up to Chicago and take a big exam. So I went up to Chicago, took the exam, and I got a little mouthy, sort of.
Oh, wow.
And I said, now, wait a minute. I wasn't good enough for the first year. Now you want me to apply for a spot for the second year? And then I'll never forget. And he was an awesome guy. He leans forward, cocks his head to the side, and he says, you're not listening to me. He says, I need you to apply for a second year spot. I got the message. So I applied for the second year spot. And then one of the very nice people in admissions said, well, we'll let you know at the end of the summer whether you're going to be a dental student or whether you're going to be a medical student that next year. And so, here I am. It was the only summer off. And so I told my wife that, and says, well, what are you going to do? I said, who knows? We're going to enjoy the summer, and I'll do a little reading, and we're going to see what happens. Then the following Friday, I get a phone call, and then they offered me a spot for the second year class.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird, circuitous thing.
Yeah.
They did that for a year or two, and then Creighton, the dental program, went to the medical program, says, we're not doing that anymore.
Wow.
And so I heard after I left that caused a major dust up, and they stopped that pathway at Creighton because they wanted to make sure that people weren't using that
to get into med school.
Yeah. So they stopped that, but it's kind of circuitous, and that's kind of so kind of crazy.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, hey, there you are. But that's okay. So that's no dentistry for you in the future. But
no.
Yeah. So you go on. Okay. So you do residency, and then you practiced a couple places before coming to UF. What did you do?
Yeah. I spent a year up in Raleigh, North Carolina. Had a private. It was Wake Medical Group or whatever it was, and it was what everybody would want at the time. You buy yourself in with sweat equity, and that was a good place to be, and I enjoyed it. But then they switched their criteria. They said, well, in order for you to come into the group, this is after they signed us and after we'd been there 6 months.
Wow.
You got your 1 year anniversary. You'd like to keep you, but in order to do that, you're going to have to buy your way in now. And it's going to cost you, we're not sure how much, but it's going to cost at least $100,000. And here I am with all the student loan debt.
Wow.
No, you can't do. You told me that's not what it was. Well, we needed a change. Went back and forth. So out of the 4 they hired, they lost 3 of us.
Wow.
And so we decided to come down to Gainesville because up in Union County is where my wife has her family, a big bunch of them. Mm-hmm. And so our kids were all the same age, so we decided to move there, and it was great because the kids kind of grew up with all their cousins. And
nice!
Every Friday we would have, all the guys would head to our house, and our oldest son and his three other cousins were all about the same age, so we dubbed them the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. All those guys would get together, and their collective IQ would just drop. And it's amazing any of them live to reproduce, and I'm not. Can I share a story?
Please, yes, please, yes. No,
so these kids are all, I don't know, they're I think at the time, I think they're about 14, right? Uh-huh. And so it's that first burst of testosterone goes to the brain when they hit puberty, and it just makes them weird for like 5 years, right? So all these kids got this collective IQ of a box of rocks. They're just dumber than dirt, right? And so my wife's sitting in a home, and the boys are out, going up the mountains to kill deer or whatever they do in the afternoon, right? She sits there and she gets this really uncomfortable feeling something's not right. Something is not right. Oh. And so she calls up her sister and says, Aaron, we got to go look. Something isn't right with the boys. I can feel it. So they drive down to the pond. Our neighbor had this great big pond, and there she caught them. They were up on the top of the high dive, which no joke is about 20 feet off the ground. They had their youngest cousin in a canoe.
No.
And all four of them were on, two on the front, two in the back, and they were getting ready to do 1, 2. Their strategy was to throw this guy off because they wanted to study the effects of what it'd be like for the cousin to be in the middle of the canoe while it got pitched off, and then it would hit the water, right?
Oh my gosh!
And no joke, they caught him. Right at 2.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and so they stopped him.
Wow!
And so, and the little cousin at that time, he was, he had to be about 7, but he wanted to keep up with the big boys, and so that's what he'd kind of do.
Yeah.
And then so it's just like, can you guys get any dumber?
Gosh.
And just when we thought they had reached a new level of stupid, my wife and I were coming back off a date or something, some afternoon lunch thing we did.
Yeah.
And we're driving down this road where we lived, and we see, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse with the aforementioned young cousin, and they had developed a new sport called land surfing. Okay.
Oh no!
Now, what this entailed is taking their 8-year-old cousin, and they took our golf cart, which their stupid father, me, had removed the governor so it would go faster. Why? Because I'm also deranged mentally. Right? And so it was gas once, so it really went pretty quick. And so I took the governor off. And so I thought, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And so my wife looks at me and just shakes her head and says, nothing good will come of this. That's what she said. She's right. Because we're driving down, and then we see all of them on the golf cart, and we see their little cousin. And what they had done, no joke, they had taken a pair of his high-top tennis shoes, right? And they had nailed some nails through those to a couple of 2x4s I had out in the barn,
my gosh.
And he was on the road, and what we saw first was the smoke. And as we got coming off these skis that they had made, and no joke, and they were on fire, and there were flames coming out. And these guys were whooping it up. And I was so dumbfounded. I was speechless. So I stopped him and I said, guys, and when my wife was like, when my wife Ginny gets mad, she'll just light you up, right? She was lighting these kids up, and they were looking at us like, what?
Oh my God.
This is cool. He loves it. He's sitting there, and while his skis are on fire. So we put the fire out. We get his feet out, and I got a chance to talk to the boys. Well, these are not breakaway bindings. All of a sudden jerking a steering wheel like they were fixing to do. What they were going to do is have him jump ditches with us, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so it would have got caught, and he would have pulled to one side, and he would have had bilateral tib fib fractures. Right?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
And it was just like, you guys, I can't, what?
Yeah.
How does this sound right?
And, and here you are as dad as an emergency doctor, just knowing what the risks of all these things.
You guys, you're all going to die, and you're going to die in a flaming death somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
And so then the last one, and just real quick, then I'll shut up. The last one. And so they're now older, now more dangerous, right? And their stupid brain damaged father decided, hey, wouldn't it really be cool to get a big quad, right? That's before I had, just dumber than dirt, right? So I get this quad, and it's a good size one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my wife and I were leaving. He says, "Now, guys, we made eye contact with him. You understand you cannot drive the quad if we're not here. You understand that? Yeah,
Yes.
we get it.
Oh,
We
of course,
understand,
Dad.
Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not going to drive it. We won't drive it outside at all." That struck me as a little odd. And I said,
It's a little
okay. And so we get home after a date, and the boys in the back watching a movie or playing. They usually play video games. We're walking up. We have a metal rear door, and it has this monster dent in it. And these brain damaged dimwits really thought they could get away with this, right? And so I haul all four of them and said, "Boys, how'd this get here?" I get a lot of blank looks, and well, Joey did it. How did Joey do it? Well, here's what they did. They decided, since the instruction was we can't take the ATV outside.
Yes.
We're going to take everything out of the garage.
Yes.
We're going to close the door so we don't suffocate. They got that part right. They opened up the windows. They poured dishwasher soap, no joke, all over the entire garage, and they wanted to do burnout wheelies. And their cousin lost control of it, like you think you would.
Of course.
And he put the front wheel up on the inside door, and that this massive dent in it. And it's just like I can't.
You gotta be kidding me.
And I can't. I was just dumbfounded. What makes you guys think this is okay?
It's unbelievable. Oh.
So anyway, our oldest son finally, he had an epiphany, and it's funny, as they get older, they get a little smarter, and he was able to do some cool things, and eventually practices emergency medicine.
I was going to say, he's the emergency doctor. After all that, it prepared him.
That's right.
And
here's what's cool.
Yeah,
He's got 4 daughters, right?
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And the oldest one she's just discovered boys, right?
Yeah.
And she's 14. She's pretty as could be, and she's this cute little thing. Of course, I'm heavily biased, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so he sends me this picture. She's standing out in the garage, and she's got 2 of the little neighborhood boys out there talking with her. She's kind of holding court, right?
Yeah.
And so my son says, "Oh, these 2 little thugs, they're up there talking to Billy. What am I going to do?" And he says, "I love this. I love watching you squirm." I says, "Well, what you forgot to realize, Ryan," it says, "you were one of those little thugs when you were that age."
Yes. Yeah.
He texts me back, "That's not funny, Dad. I'm going to run them off." I says, "Okay, you run them off."
Payback. It's payback.
Payback, baby.
That's right. Oh man, that's great.
I love watching it. It's fun to see.
Oh, that's great, Matt. Oh my gosh. See, you have no shortage of stories. No shortage of stories for a podcast.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun though. But
so I got to ask you a couple business questions here.
Sure.
I heard that it was you and Sandra that pretty much. Well, I'm sure you had help, but did the heavy lifting of opening the freestandings. Is that correct?
Yeah, not really. Not for Spring Hill. I was just hired. I was desperate to get out of where I was. I had quit twice, and I was a medical director up in Valdosta, and they were going through some significant transitions. None of them good. I quit first, and they really begged me to come back. And when I quit twice, I really stuck to it and came back. And so I called up Adrian, because I'd known him before, and I said, "Hey, do you have anything I'm interested in?" And he says, "Well, you should ask. I got 1 spot left at the freestanding." So I didn't have much to do with that.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I had a little bit more to do with Kanapaha. But again, there was a lot of folks involved in that. That wasn't just me.
And God, I can't imagine what was getting a place like Kanapa, which is so bustling and so busy, up and running I mean, what year was that? Did it open?
2016.
16. Oh, 16. Okay. Yeah. And to see where it is now, it's unreal.
Yeah. Well, both volumes are high.
Yeah. Yeah.
The acuities on those have just gone through the roof, as everybody knows. We fulfilled the mission. Originally, the plan was to try to siphon some of the traffic off. I think we've done that, but we've also generated new traffic.
Yeah.
And that continues to pour through the doors, you guys know.
Absolutely. And now there's other sites in the works potentially, correct? I mean, you're going to be doing this again.
Yeah, we are. We have our new micro hospital, or neighborhood hospital that's going in Ocala. Yeah. And we think that's due to open, I think the provisional plan with that is April 24, I think is what we're thinking. And that'll be a 10-bed freestanding ED with a 10-bed inpatient unit attached to it.
Wow.
And so we'll be able to do lots and lots of op stuff there, which is what I think is going to happen. It'll be unique because we'll have a magnet, we'll have an MRI there.
Oh, wow.
We'll also have a surgery suite with limited operating hours. So essentially, if you got a stable appy at 4 a.m, hydrate them, antibiose them, and keep them comfortable, and then they can do them maybe first case.
That's pretty cool. That's
which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, so you get to do it again. You get to replicate the canap, do it again down in Ocala. That's wonderful.
Well, we hope.
You developed a skill set here. Yeah.
Well, it's taken a while. It really has. Sandra gets the majority of that credit, though. I think the way that the freestandings demonstrate their governance through a common person with her means that all units report back to a single person.
Yeah.
And what that does is ensure continuity.
Yeah.
And that's really important when you have when you're in an ED setting where you have all the other services for which you are so dependent on being split between demands of other competing services, that creates its own special challenges. And so the cool thing about the freestanding is they all report back just simply to one person. So that really allows that to be a lot more smooth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We feel that for sure. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So, to kind of to wrap it up, you have, how many children do you have?
We have 4.
4. You have 4 children. And then how many grandkids?
We have 10.
Oh my gosh. So you're I was going to ask about any hobbies and stuff, but I'm sure your family's probably a big part of your personal life and enjoyment, correct?
Yeah, they are. Oh, they're fundamental to who we are.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about grandkids is when people say that's the blessing you get for not drowning your kids when they get to be teenagers, there's the honest truth for that.
Wow.
Because your job is to just be the cool grandparents and get them hopped up on. I've always threatened our kids. Just give me them. I'll get them hopped up on cotton candy and Red Bull. You're going to get them back.
That's right.
And good luck putting them to sleep at night.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So it makes it kind of fun. Yeah, I think so.
Nice. That's nice. And then I do know, I know that you have some personal and professional hobbies. I know you just got back from a medical trip of some sort, right? Tell us about that. Yeah.
Well, that was thanks to Peter Alexandra. That was an operational medicine assignment. I've done a number of international trips doing medical stuff through the university back over the spring break stuff. I've been to Mexico twice, and then been to north central Nicaragua 4 times.
Wow.
And that was over the spring break. And that's really available for anybody. They're just starting that back up. COVID killed that.
Oh, okay.
But really want to encourage any of the faculty that are interested in making those trips. Those are really, really worthwhile. Mexico trip in particular, because you get a chance to take a bunch of our med students. They had a small group go this year, but next year we'll probably have a much larger group that goes.
Yeah.
We roll with about 80 or so of our own medical students. And then we match up with the University of Yucatan, and these Mexican medical students are pretty good.
Yeah.
They're a little younger than our guys are, but pound for pound, they're pretty savvy. And they're all bilingual because they have to be. They're required to be bilingual. When I asked them, why is it?
Yeah.
And they said, well, because the language of medicine is English.
Wow.
That's what they tell us. And in order to go there to medical school, you have to be fluent in English.
You have to be bilingual.
Yeah. So we roll in with probably 160 kids.
Wow.
And then nurses, even though my wife's not a nurse, she kind of hangs out with them. And, then towards the, saying goodbye to nursing for my wife, that was hard because all those nurses would come up to her and they were crying, hugging her.
Oh.
After a week, she really bonded with them. And that's happened twice now.
That's great.
And,
my gosh.
They were their mom. And she would hang out with them at night too. It was just kind of, well, where are you going? So I'll go hang out with my nurses.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
But you're not a nurse, right? And she says, we're just going to do some things together, which is so they enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's that. And then we had the big operational medicine assignment, which is something that we're excited about because that's a new thing that's going to be taking off. And it's a process now taking off. And that was to the country of Niger. I really had an amazing experience there. But getting there was a significant challenge, as you can imagine. I had a delay because all the problems up in Turkey. And then they had to route me through North Africa. Yeah. And so I went into Istanbul, Turkey. Yeah. And it was the night of right before the earthquake.
Oh my gosh.
They canceled a whole bunch of flights the following morning. And so I was lucky to get back out.
Wow.
And so I ended up going to Tunisia. And then from Tunis, capital of Tunisia, then I had about a 5-hour layover there. And customs couldn't quite figure out who I was. And finally, they had to take it that I was a doctor, because some of the security issues is we really don't want to talk a lot about the operational details. We need to, just because there's other countries or other individuals who may not be real happy with what we're doing.
Right.
So to make a long story short,
Yeah.
I didn't tell them I was doing contract work for the State Department, and just I'm a doctor and I'm going to Niger. And they finally,
there you go.
Okay, all right.
We'll
let you do that. So that was okay.
Oh,
But
nice.
I had a great
Keep
experience there.
Nice.
Completely off the chain experience in Niger.
Oh,
Loved it.
cool.
Loved the people there.
Cool.
The African people are amazing.
Yeah.
They are amazing people. They have this big smile. And they have this I used to think that Nicaragua had poverty, which it does.
Yeah.
But Central African poverty is a whole different animal. But they're like anybody else. I think they want to raise their families in peace. They want to raise their families without fear of the government. They want to provide for them, and they love their kids. I got a chance to get to know some of the nurses that were assigned to us that we were there. And they all just had a big conference down in Orlando, and where they come in from all over the world. And so one of my nurses from that thing came. His name is Gladuma. Is his first name Gladuma?
Nice.
Vigaya is his name.
Wow.
Yeah, so they call him Glad. That's what he calls himself.
Glad.
And so Glad came over. And so I got a chance to pick him up for the airport and take him out to dinner.
Incredible.
We just had then we were texting back and forth a whole bunch during the conference. We still keep in contact.
Oh, that's super cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, he is awesome. Great guy. And he's at the embassy in another country, one of the other African countries there.
Yep.
And serves as one of their health unit nurses.
Very cool.
But just a terrific guy and very, very friendly. Good guy.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like these are two opportunities that I want to look into in other faculty, obviously. But I didn't even know about. I'd heard some about Peter's trips, but I had no idea about the mission trips the trips to Nicaragua and Mexico with the med school. So that's really cool to look into in the future.
No, and there's a couple of them. I think they're considering sites in South America as well. Awesome. The Nicaragua trip that was canceled because of the civil war that's there, although that's settling back down, so potentially that can happen again. Yeah. But as COVID has started to wane, I can't emphasize how cool those trips are to Mexico. That's over spring break.
Nice.
And that is a blast. It's inexpensive. It's an hour-and-a-half plane ride for us from Orlando.
Yep. So easy.
It's an amazing experience. We go to two Mayan villages where the native language is not Spanish, it's Mayan, and so we have to have a Mayan to Spanish, Spanish to English translators. We have to have two sets of translators.
Wow.
Which is really a cool experience.
Yeah.
It makes your intake interviews a lot longer, but it's fascinating. Because what's cool is the little kids will translate for their parents or their grandparents. Which is cool because they get Spanish in school and they speak Mayan at home. And so when they come in, then they translate. So you get a little, 8 or 9-year-old who translates for their abuela, their grandma. Or the abuelo, the grandfather. So it's kind of a neat experience.
It's neat. That's great. That's cool.
It's fun.
And then and I know you're a cyclist. And you do a lot of the
I do, and I ride a whole lot. Matter of fact, I'll probably, Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I'll probably try to ride again today. So I really enjoy that. That's my mental health break.
Good. You need that. Everyone needs something like that. Yeah.
Oh, they do. I can agree more. I will joke with my wife, says I'll be actively homicidal before I get on my bike. And then by the time I get back from a ride, it's kind of I am now at one with the universe.
That's great.
I'm in touch with the Zen of the world. All is well.
That is great, man. Well,
it's a good experience.
It's a good experience. Good. Is there any restaurants you recommend for? What's your favorite place to eat?
Yep. Mexican. I'll tell you, the guy in the department that is a major foodie is Sam Kim.
Really?
If you're ever interested in where to go, Sam Kim is your go-to guy.
He's the guy.
Las Margaritas is very good for Mexican. We like that.
Yep.
There's another one called that's brand new, just opened. I've heard really good reviews called Las Caritas. I'm mispronouncing that.
Okay.
Sam Kim gives it 2 enthusiastic thumbs up from what I remember.
Good deal. I didn't know about Sam. That's great.
He's really good for all the Asian restaurants in town. If you really want to get one pretty good. My wife really likes Bangkok Square
Okay.
I'm kind of what is it? Yummy House? Is that what it is? Asian?
I don't know. I've not been.
Yeah. Yummy House is pretty decent.
Nice. Yeah.
Those are kind of my sort of favorites. Then you got that classic American dining experience. Embers, of course, that's hard to beat. But
yeah.
you're going to drop $100 at the end of the evening. But if you really want a nice, very well catered meal that's really good, Embers is always really good.
Embers. I've yet to go, so that is on my list. Though it is on my list, so it's really cool. And lastly, what's your favorite thing about UF and working for UF for the UF emergency department?
You guys, everybody. Yeah, it's my colleagues. That's what makes it, I think.
Yeah.
I really like our department leadership. I really like I really like my colleagues.
Yeah.
Those are good. I think there's a lot of camaraderie there.
Yep.
I like the camaraderie that exists even outside our department as we've had a chance to interact with other departments. None of us are perfect, and we all struggle with our own challenges in life, right?
Sure.
But I love that we have this huge diversity in our department, and you have political persuasions all over the map, which is cool.
Yeah.
It sounds a little cornball, but I actually kind of like that.
It's good.
Because that enhances your human experience.
Absolutely.
And as my wife and I always talked about, she said, just think of what the world would be like if everybody was the same. And it's really cool that all of us can have very different opinions about anything from politics or anything else. Yeah. But reality is that we're all united when it comes to emergency medicine and our what we do.
Absolutely. Wow.
That's cool.
That is cool. And I can't think of a better way to end it right there.
Absolutely.
Matt Shannon, thank you for coming on. I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
your time and sharing your stories with everyone.
Hope I won't put anybody to sleep.
I don't think so. All right, Matt. Thank you. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. You bet. Take care.
That's all for this episode. Special thanks to our chair, Dr. Mary Patterson, for supporting this podcast, and to Dr. Giuliano DePortu for composing our theme music. I'm Michael Petrauskas. Be well.